Joining me on this episode is fitness and beauty influencer and host of the More Than Just Pretty podcast, Samantha Lee. Earning recognition as everyone's internet therapist, Sam has garnered the attention of millions worldwide with her viral social media clips of thought-provoking conversation in an effort to bridge the gap between men and women. A very special episode of Faith and Fame starts now. Welcome back to a brand new episode of Faith and Fame, where we are bridging the gap between faith and entertainment. I am your host, Brittany Q. Hill, and I am so excited about today's episode. This is a Faith and Fame exclusive. But before I introduce my special guest, I need y'all to tap in with us, lock in, hit the like button, share it with your family, your friends, subscribe, and lock in with us. It's more than just a podcast, it's a movement. So, without further ado, our guest today is a beautiful, bad boss woman. Y'all might think y'all know her, but you really have no idea. My girl, the beautiful Samantha Lee.
I like that a lot, girl. I like that. I'm so excited to be here, y'all. But that was good.
Yes,
I felt that.
Being here. You felt it. You felt it in your spirit.
I did. It moved me. It moved
yes.
me. It moved me. Yes.
Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, I'm excited I feel like the enemy was against this.
Oh, girl, you already know he didn't want this to happen.
Yes, it has been some things. So I was like, you know what? I told my girl who helps me with everything, I was like, we got to make this happen. We got to make it happen.
We have to make it happen. This is the redefining of Samantha Lee.
It is.
Like I said, y'all think y'all know her, but we're gonna scratch the surface today.
Yes, well, I'm going to try to do more than that.
Yes.
I'm trying to do more than that.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so before we get started, I like to actually kick the show off with an icebreaker. Okay. So my question for you is, if you could sit and have dinner with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be, and what would you say or ask?
That's a good one. Dead or alive? Oh, gosh. I have to go with, like, the first person that comes to mind. But, like, okay, I got to just go with the first person. I loved Michael Jackson. I mean, I absolutely loved Michael Jackson. I mean, when I was growing up, I did talent shows, dressing up as Michael. Like,
that's funny. You was dancing?
I was dancing and everything. I mean, I loved, like, my mom is going to watch this. I loved Michael Jackson. So I would just say Michael Jackson.
And what would you ask him? What would you say?
You know what? I would just want to feel his energy.
Mm-hmm.
I just would want to feel his energy. It wouldn't even be about a question or like anything. Like, I just want to feel, you hear so many different things about him, but I feel like just being in somebody's presence, you just know, you know, 93% of communication is nonverbal.
Yeah. I mean, he is the greatest performer of all time.
Yes.
So yeah, that'd be a good one. That's
I would love, I mean, that's like, you know.
That's a good one. Okay, cool. Well, you ready to dive in? I'ma just keep it real simple.
Simple.
Who is Samantha Lee?
That's not simple. That's not simple at all.
Where do you want to start? I want to know. Okay, let's take it here.
Okay.
The press has painted you out to be this person. Everybody has this idea about who you are, who you used to be with, all the things. That is not who you are. Mm-mm. Not even close. Mm-mm. So take us back to maybe, you know, what you studied. A lot of people don't know what you do actually for a living. You know what I mean? So I want to know who you are beyond what the press tells us that again, y'all think y'all know.
Right.
Let's start there.
I think first I'll say I'm Samantha Lee. I'm originally from New Jersey. I came from very humble beginnings. I always say this. I don't come from the best of anything. And then I moved to Georgia when I was like 13 years old. And from there, went to high school out here. I went to college out here. Went to UGA. Go Dogs.
Hey.
I got my master's out here. Well, my bachelor's and my master's at Georgia. And I became a licensed social worker. And then I worked in social work. I did all different kinds of social work, from sex trafficking to prison work to DFACS. I did everything you could think of social work level. And, you know, then I did get married. I had a child. Got divorced, and then I went back into the field again. Okay. And I started doing full-time work back at the job I actually left when I got married. And then I went into full-time content creation. Nice. And so that's what I do.
Nice. Mm-hmm. So when we were discussing bringing you on the show, and I told you this.
Right.
It had nothing to do with what was in the press.
Right.
I wanted you on the show because you are a true woman of God through and through. You all up and down my Explore page. Every time I open up my Explore page, you dropping a word. You talk from dating to just lifestyle, all the things.
Yeah.
But you are a true woman of God through and through.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that. How has your faith played a role in who you are today, even through your divorce, being a mom? How does your faith play a part in all of that?
I think my faith has been my rock throughout everything. I mean, I became I would say a Christian for myself in college, but it didn't define the way I moved my life. I didn't really have a real relationship, I feel like, with God. I mean, I was starting to understand it, but I didn't like take time with him. I didn't really understand what that actually looked like. It wasn't until, a lot of things started happening in my life where I, was starting to question things about myself. I was a hurt, immature, insecure little girl. And I was moving in the world as such. I then, got into therapy.
Tell the story, what you told me yesterday.
Okay.
Come on, we got to go there.
Well, so here's the thing. So my platform, if you guys have watched my platform, I really try to put, I'm trying to bridge the gap between men and women. I do feel like there's an agenda today that is trying to uniquely separate us from each other. And there's a reason for that. And then we can get into that. But I feel like I'm trying to bridge the gap. And I see a lot of different things, fallacies that young women say. And I think that what's being put out through our music is creating more toxic personality types than normal ones. Okay, I'll just say that. I know that because I was toxic. Okay, and that's me being honest. I was, cheated on, and so therefore,
you want to get your lick back. You want to get your lick back
because I was growing up. This was my thought process was either play or get played. So I was like, okay,
that's a quote in a bar. We might need to.
I don't know if that's the one I don't know.
Play or get played.
I don't know if we want to take that. But play or get played. And so I, ran with that. I was in relationships frequently. I mean, throughout college, I was always in a relationship. But I struggled with being faithful in the sense of, like, I wasn't physically moving with people. I always had somebody I was emotionally connecting to outside of my relationship. And that was because I was trying to protect myself from being 100% vulnerable and 100% vulnerable to the person that I was with. Right? So anyway, I went through a situation where I really felt bad about. Like, it hit me. Like, I was like, dang, I'm really like...
What's the situation?
I can tell you. I mean, at this point, it doesn't matter. It's water under the bridge. It's not the worst thing that's ever been said about me. Well, so anyway, so I was going through a breakup with this guy, and he wanted to get married. And he was very intentional about it, and we looked at rings and all this other stuff, and I wasn't ready on any level to get married. I had just started my career, and I was really in a place of like, I don't know if I really want to stop what I'm doing, like slow down what I'm doing. I really want to just put my energy here.
Yep.
And so I was with this guy, and I knew he was, he was really serious about me, and I broke up with him. I ended up ending the relationship. I quickly started talking to another person. And that was just that was the toxic thing I did. I never was alone for a long period of time, which is not what you should do. But I was talking to somebody else very quickly thereafter. Anyway, breaking up with him and seeing how, because he didn't handle it well. I was hearing things. He was making himself known to be heard, and I was being made aware that he was not dealing with the breakup well.
Because he wanted to marry you, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. And I felt really bad about it. I mean, I really did. I was like, this is okay. At this point, I've allowed some of the traumas that I had experienced in my past. I've been, assaulted. So I had this thing where I had my guard up always, and I was always trying to protect myself from being vulnerable. I still have that shell, but I ended up feeling like, okay, you know what, Sam, this isn't right. Yeah. I didn't feel good about myself. And it turned into a place of like spinning in anxiety where I couldn't sleep. I was, had this persistent fear of death. I just could not, like, I was like at night, literally afraid to go to sleep because I was afraid I was going to not live. Like, wow. I really had this persistent fear. I mean, it was just pervasive. I later decided to go to a therapist. A former friend of mine, was going to a therapist that I started seeing changes in her. So I went to this therapist, and I started realizing that I had an anxiety disorder. That I was coming out and that's how you know if you are ever, if anybody's watching this and experiencing that persistent fear and anxiety, you don't really, it's like, well, I'm not really, why am I afraid? Like, there's not really any real reason for me to feel this way. Sometimes it is your neurotransmitters are sometimes heightened, and you have to figure out ways to balance them. And sometimes you go on medication, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you can find coping mechanisms that are able to calm you down, all the things. So I went to this therapist at that time, like, helped me to really understand that a lot of my anxiety came from not really forgiving a past relationship. I didn't forgive my first relationship with a guy who cheated on me like somebody was paying him to do it. I mean, he was like on salary to cheat. But I kept going back. I kept staying with him and things like that. And so I hadn't forgiven him fully. I also hadn't forgiven that version of me fully for staying in that relationship. And that kind of came and boiled down to all different types of behaviors that were dysfunctional. And so I ended up in that therapy process having to unlearn things that I had made parts of my personality because of pain.
So put a pin in that really quick. The relationship that you ended up breaking up with the guy that wanted to marry you was what kind of pushed you into therapy.
100%.
But had that not happened, you wouldn't have gone to therapy at that point.
No.
But therapy did what for you in return?
I think it made me more aware. It set me free. It set me free from, I was able to forgive the 19-year-old version of myself because that was the real issue. The underlying problem was a lack of forgiveness.
You got to the root.
Yes. The root was unforgiveness. And out of that was a bitterness and, this anxiety, this suspicious behavior, just always looking behind my back and wanting to protect myself. Like, it all came down to not forgiving. And so once I was able to figure that out, I was able to manage it better. And I set myself free. And a year later, I was married.
And a year later.
Engaged, and then I was married like 3 months later.
So let's fast forward a little bit. You got married. You ended up getting divorced.
Yes.
That was 5 years ago now, correct?
Yeah, I left the marriage in 2020.
Talk to me a little bit about your personal healing journey after leaving that marriage.
In the beginning, it was a lot of, I was in therapy every week. It's because it's devastating. Devastating. Divorce is a very challenging, it's a very, very hard process. Nothing that anyone should take lightly. No one should take that lightly. So I was in therapy every week for probably 2 years.
Yeah.
And with that, I really, really leaned on my spirituality. I really leaned on my spiritual mentors. I really was connected to my family, my support system. People had seen me through, knew why I was making the decision, and just kind of was helping me through the process. I had dropped goodness, at the time I had dropped like 30 pounds in a short amount of time.
Divorce does that to you.
Oh yeah, I dropped like 30 pounds, a very short amount of time. I look back on videos of me, and I was intentionally trying to lose weight, but then I look back And it was like I had lost. I mean, I could see the bones in my face. Like it was.
Was that just a lack of appetite? Was it the stress, the maybe anxiety suppressed your appetite? What do you think caused the actual weight loss?
It was anxiety. It was just. It was just so many different emotions that I was trying to process through.
Yeah.
Decisions I was trying to process through, and you're going through a process, and immediately the person that you say I do to becomes your enemy in some way, shape, or form,
right?
Whether you want it to be that or not.
Yeah.
And so it's a tough thing.
What was the turning point for you when you finally started to see the light at the end of the tunnel?
I think that when really the light for me was when I started building something for myself. And that's where my platform comes in. Mm-hmm. So I didn't really have much of a platform during my marriage. I wasn't utilizing it like that. Towards the end of it, I had a friend of mine that was active on it, and she was encouraging me. She's like, you have a voice, you need to utilize it. Like, And I was like, I don't know. I didn't feel that comfortable in front of a camera. Mm-hmm. So it was her encouraging me. We were on camera a lot. It just got me used to being on it. And then after like the COVID happened that year. And so then I started doing a Bible study online called Miracle Monday with Real Talk Him. Mm-hmm. I was doing that every week. And that was like my beginning kind of thing.
Getting out there.
So even when I was going through my divorce, which was extremely, it was tough, I was still doing Miracle Mondays.
Right.
And so when we got into December, I was still feeling like for myself that God was telling me, I was in a space of, I don't know necessarily how to describe it, but I felt like I was waiting on things to happen in my life. And I was just praying for God to make this happen, make that happen, like just different things. But I don't know. I just was confused. I don't know. It can't really describe the space, but I think I was waiting on people to do right by me. I was losing friendships. There was a lot that I was losing. Mm-hmm. And I think at the time I was praying for God to make it right, to do this, to do that, to do this, to do, and we get into that. We ask God to give me the job and give me this and get me here and get me there. And he's like, I remember it so audibly because I was laying in my bed and he says to me, I can't do anything until you move. Mm-hmm. Like I can't start anything. I can't get you anywhere until you move. Yep. I've been sitting here praying. I mean, I was praying with all of my might. I was fasting. I was doing everything I knew to do. Mm-hmm. But God was waiting on me to start walking in the faith that I said that I had. Mm. And so at that day, I started everything that came to mind. I started a fitness business. I was doing a coaching business. I started a sisterhood called Power Up. I was still working the job. I got promoted twice in that time frame. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to try to do this content creation thing. But I was only really focused on Instagram. I didn't even go to YouTube or TikTok or any other platform at that time. Right. But I was like, I'm going to start really working on developing the shows. So I had a show called I Was Her, and I had Miracle Mondays, and I was sticking to those shows. I didn't really try to grow my platform, but I was trying to stick to those shows and see what would come from that. Yeah. From there, I started finding purpose.
Mm-hmm. I was just about to ask you, tell me about that. What did you learn about yourself? What revelations did you get from God going through that process? Whatever led to the divorce, the actual divorce, and coming out of that, what did you learn about you?
I'm way stronger than I thought I was. Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like I'm resilient. Mm-hmm. And I think God developed within me like a fight that I didn't have before. Yeah. And also a bottom line. Where it was like, no. Yeah. You don't people don't get to just run all over me. I'm not your doormat. I have a bottom line.
Come on.
You don't, like, I think in the past, I was a people pleaser. I was bred to be a people pleaser my whole life. When I was growing up, I was always trying so hard to please people, please people, please people. I come from, my mom is Ecuadorian and Jamaican. In our culture, like, our parents are hard on us. It just is what it is. And so we're hard on ourselves, therefore. And we try very hard to please. And I think that at the time, like, I didn't really know me outside of what I thought people wanted from me. Like, I didn't know who I wanted to be, or like whether I was going to college and getting the degree because my family wanted me to do that, or whether that was genuinely what I wanted to do.
Right.
I think I was just kind of like figuring those types of things out for myself. And in that time frame, you know, that was that.
Yeah. So let's set the record straight, because a lot of people think that they know you with all the press. What would you say that people don't know about you that you would like for them to know about you?
I work very, very hard. I'm one of those people that I'm not going to be somebody that goes back and forth with anyone. I'm not that type of person. I try very hard not to be messy. I never want to paint anybody in a negative light. I'm not that type of individual. I think that when it comes down to it, when I've made decisions in my life, I've made decisions because I felt like that I'm trying to say this in the best way I know how to say this, but I've made hard decisions.
Right.
I stand by every decision I made. I just, at the end of the day, whether people agree, disagree, whatever the case may be, I feel a very strong conviction from God to not go back and forth, to not be messy, to really just stand in my own light. I never want to attach myself to any type of mess, I feel like God has a different path for me personally. And so I don't want, especially going into 2025, I don't want my relationship or 5 years ago to be something that, like, as I'm going into this new year, to be something that I'm discussing, talking about. Like, this is a year where I am really trying to forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. See, I am doing a new thing. Do not perceive it. Like, I'm really trying to do something new. And I've made decisions. I stand by those decisions. I made the right decision.
Yes.
And, you know, it's not for me to explain or anything else to anybody about that. I know, the people that love me know, and that's it.
Which leads me to the next topic. You actually talk a lot about dating and relationships on the gram. You are known to push some buttons in that way, and I love that. You challenge our thoughts. What's the latest? Give us the tea.
So the latest thing that I've been on this year, and do I have some time? I have to kind of like.
You got the time, girl.
I got to give you all of where I'm at, right? So there's two parts to this. So first part, and I haven't said this part to you, so buckle your seatbelt.
Okay.
This is what I was saying before. I feel like I was convicted this year because I felt like God was telling me that a lot of content creators, they've always talked about like dating content. So they stay in the dating space, and they don't end up getting married or anything else because that's what they're speaking. They're speaking that over their life.
Yep. So
God was like, he had kind of checked me about that, and he was like, you know, you need to start talking about marriage. And I'm like, God, what am I going to talk about marriage? I mean, what am I really going to say?
School me.
You know,
I ain't been married before.
You're like, listen,
I ain't been married yet. School me.
Well, I can give you some advice there, but we can do that off camera. But anyway, but marriage, I was like, you know what? I do feel like God is calling me to speak more about relationships, because I do feel like I was speaking more to like a dating and single agenda, and I don't want to be another person that's putting out that type of content.
Okay.
Because we see a lot of that content and the space is inundated with that. And I think there's an agenda behind that. So that brings me to the second part of this. I feel like there's a hypersexualization of Black and brown men and women
Talk about
in
it.
our society. And I think that it really flows through our music, the music that they push. And I talked to you a little bit about this yesterday, but because of that hypersexualization, there's a lot to it, but it comes down to really this. The most married group race in our country is the wealthiest group in our country. 86% of billionaires and 85% of millionaires are married.
Wow.
But yet in our community, the music that they push, which music is powerful. If you know anything, you can go on YouTube right now and say, music to make me happy, music to make me sad, music to make me focus, music to make me this. You can do music therapy in schools. You can go find a music therapist right now to help you with your problems. Music is extremely powerful. You can have music teach you Spanish if you wanted to.
Facts.
Music is extremely powerful. I can listen to an R&B song right now and it takes me back to a place.
A memory or something.
Listen,
Feel something.
Put an Usher, You Got It bag. And I know exactly where I was when I heard that song.
Wow.
You know, so music is extremely powerful. And with that being said, I think that the agenda, the hypersexualization, they want us to see our men and our women promiscuous, hypersexualized, because that keeps us single. And if that keeps us single, that keeps us in poverty, because women are more likely to be in poverty if we are single.
Wow. That's
okay. Men not so much, but women are more likely to be in poverty. We have more if you just look at the music scope today, the artists that they're pushing, the machine can make anybody hot. Anybody. There's songs right now. The only reason why I like them is because I heard them 87 times.
Wow. You said that, yeah.
I didn't like them the first time.
Right.
But the 87th time,
you like,
I like
okay,
them.
You know, a little bop a little bit.
That actually hit my spirit today. It didn't hit me the first, second, third, fourth, fifth time, but the machine knows that the repetition, there's a law, that's psychology.
Driving it into your brain.
They understand that. So the machine isn't trying to push the most talented artists, the most talented actors, the most talented actresses. No, they're finding the people that are they have the most ability to control, because there's an agenda that they're trying to push. Are you willing to do what we're asking you to do? Are you willing to put out the music that we're trying to ask you to put out? Even artists that we know are married, are putting themselves and singing songs as being single in order for the machine to push their music. It's an agenda. It's a single agenda. And I feel very, very strongly about that, because in our community, we then think, oh, no, it's because we're independent and we want our career on the women's side. Or men's like, no, these women, they be doing this, that, and the third. No, they want us to be that way. The women that we see in our music, they're aggressive, they're sexual, they're this, they're that. All the ideals, all the things we complain about, you see it in our music. The men, all the things that we complain about as women, we see it in our music. It's influencing our thought.
Yeah.
And so now we're like, oh, wow, that's just a coincidence, Sam. That's how they were raised. No, that's probably what they were listening to.
Wow.
Because you can talk to people that live in 2-parent households and they were raised the right way, but yet they live in a single bachelor lifestyle and they feel like they feel like a conviction to do so.
Yep.
And you're like, where does that come from?
What they're consuming.
What they're consuming.
Yep.
The content that they're consuming. My pastor says this: whoever has your ear has your future.
Ooh, that's good.
And so you have to monitor who has your ear. And I would even say, who has your eye? What are you looking at? What are you listening to?
Guard your gates.
You have to guard your gates.
Yes.
That's a real thing.
Yeah.
And so I feel very strongly about this, because I do think that we haven't, ever since we've gotten the right to get married, because marriage was a right that we had to fight for.
That's it. Yep.
They've been trying to get us not to do it for ourselves.
So I want to ask a little bit more about marriage.
Sure.
The state of marriage right now. Why are people less likely to get married now, and why are marriages failing at such a rapid rate?
Well, I think personally, and again, I'm gonna caveat that with the obvious. I'm divorced. However, I do have an opinion.
Unnecessary.
I have an opinion on the other side of this. I would say this. I think that marriage, I actually don't think that the way that we are being influenced, we're not built for marriage.
Okay.
Like, I don't think that when we're listening to certain music, I'm not going to name artists because I'm not trying to be messy. Right. But if I'm listening to certain artists every day, that's not a conducive person to listen to for me to stay in a marriage. Right. That's going to make me feel like, oh, you know what? I just need to be single. Forget this. Right. It's a better lifestyle for me to be out on a Friday night doing whatever I'm doing and being with multiple men than to just deal with one and to figure out how to figure that out with him. Yeah. You don't see that in country music. No. You don't see that even with, if you look at other countries that are more married, they're not listening to that.
You know what's interesting about that? A close friend of mine said this just last week. He's trying to practice, abstinence and holding out for marriage.
That's probably hard.
But he specifically said during this space, he has to be intentional with not listening to rap music because rap instantly causes him to lust.
100%.
Now he's thinking about women differently just based on listening to rap
100%.
alone.
100%.
It's true.
If you listen to it, like even the men that they put up as the examples or the men that they have, like there are some men that, obviously they're exemplary, they live their, but I feel like the machine pushes men that are hypersexual, non-committal, have lots of children's mothers.
Yep.
And they're not in any of them.
But we got to go back. Because your reaction when I said he was trying to hold out, you said, ooh. What?
I'm abstinent as well.
Okay.
So I understand. I'm speaking from a place of, wow.
Okay.
I feel you, my brother.
Yeah, it's not easy.
That's not an easy journey to follow.
It's not.
Especially for a man.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's easier for women.
I think
for a man to do that. It's very commendable, but it is not easy.
Okay. She wrote that for a wall for that.
It ain't easy, all right?
It's not easy. I don't think, and I think even we talk about for women, I think one thing that people don't understand, women have sexual desire.
For sure. But women can be just as sexual as men.
Absolutely. I think we're seeing that now in our society and we're like, oh my goodness, like women, they're exploring, like we've always had this side, but I think that we now have the freedom to express that side.
Right.
In a way that we've never had it before. Right. But I do think that even in that, there has to be some type of confines for it.
There has to be confines and boundaries, and that's why God calls us to wait. But why is it? Help me out.
Sure.
When a man is doing his thing, he the man, he got a roster, this, that, and the third, but when a woman does it, she's a hoe.
I think personally, and this is what I've made content about, it's much easier for a woman to go out and sleep with somebody. It's very simple. Like, I don't care what she's looking like. I don't care where she's at in the world. A woman can go out and sleep with them. Like, if she said, you know what, if I want to go out right now, go outside, and I said, I want to sleep with someone today at this hour, it would be very easy for me to do that.
Women sleep with who they want. Men sleep with who they can.
Yes.
Do you agree with that?
100%.
Yes.
Because a man has to do a little bit more work. Yeah. Depending on who the man is. Of course, there's some men that they don't have to do any work depending on who they are, but they've had to build things up for themselves. They look a certain way or whatever that may be. All those different classifications that get them in the door. Right. But for a woman, it takes restraint. It takes restraint to be able to say, no, I'm not. And to then say, forget it, I'm going to sleep with whoever I want, whenever I want to. Well, that's not a mark of any type of discipline. Right. Because I can do that. Any woman can do that.
Right. That's a fact. Girl, we can go all day.
I know.
We can go. I'm going to shift. I want to ask you this question and take a little moment really quick before you answer it.
Sure.
Coming out of 2024 was a tough year for many people. I don't know what it was like for you, but I'm so glad 2024 is gone. But what would you title this current season of your life coming into 2025? And because I believe in the power of declaring a thing, what are you believing God for in 2025?
Goodness.
The title of the season, and what are you believing, expecting God to do in 2025 for you?
So the first thing that comes to mind is full circle.
I love that.
It's a full circle season. And the reason why I say that is, and I don't want to get emotional, but I might. God is showing me, and I've spent a lot of time with him. I've been very intentional. Everything that he's asked me to do in these last couple of weeks, I've just done it. Like, I'm just like, okay, I've had this anointing. Mind you, it's not my strength. It's not my strength at all. It's him.
Yeah.
But like anything he's told me to do, like restrict this time, don't watch this, don't do this. I'm like, okay. And normally it's not that fast for me.
Okay.
But I have this anointing to like be able to let things go and not do things because I feel like God is calling me to something. There's something new that he's doing. It's a new season. It's a new chapter. But in those things, there are answers. There are things that just are like full circle. It's like everything makes sense. Everything that was foreshadowed from when I was a little girl. Like God foreshadows. There's a desire you had when you was a child, and then now you walk into a room and somebody says something like, it brings you back to a place when you were that child and you wanted that, or you were doing that, or you dreamed of that, or you thought you would, I feel like this year for me is full circle. It's like the end of the first movie, and then there's going to be like little like tidbits or clickbait for the next movie. Like I just feel like God is going, this is my like rocket year. I just know it. It's my rock. It's like a lot of things have fallen off and things are continuing to fall off.
Yeah.
But I'm going into the stratosphere.
Yes. And
I don't know what
had to fall off. Because that weight would have held you back.
Would have held me back.
Yes.
And I'm at a place where I'm willing, I'm ready. And so I just feel like this is the year. Like I just have an energy.
I got chills.
I have an excitement.
Yes.
I have like there's such an excitement within me. It's like a beam. If somebody set me on fire, I would go up up in the sky. I don't even know where I would go. But I'm just so excited. I know God is doing something new and he's making everything that I've ever wanted to do make sense. Because I've never wanted certain things. Like I've never known what I was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Like I never had that clarity of like, oh, I want to be that. Like it was always like, what's your talent, Sam? Well, I'm good at talking. But I didn't know that was a skill.
Yeah. So I'm going to go back to one of the questions I asked you at the beginning of the show.
Sure.
Who is Samantha Lee?
A good talker. a great conversation. Entertainment on wheels.
Yes.
No, I mean, I think God called me, and I'm going to speak it over my life. God said I will be a different type of influence in this world.
Amen.
And I believe that.
Amen. I touch and agree. Amen.
Yes, ma'am.
So then there's nothing else left to do than to jump to what I like to call our elevator sermon. We close out every episode. Yeah. And I just want you to speak to whoever's on your heart, whatever's on your heart. Maybe it's another woman going through divorce. Maybe it's somebody trying to figure out what is going on in my life. What's this season about coming into 2025? Whatever God places on your heart. And I want you to give it right to camera.
Okay.
Give us a word, Sam.
Okay. See where I'm at. There's two things that come to mind, and one of them may make me emotional, so y'all just buckle your seatbelt.
You're safe.
The first thing that I want to give you guys is that time is so valuable. Not too long ago, I lost something that I didn't think I would lose. I had a puppy. I know some people they're not animal people, but I am. And I had that puppy for 11 weeks. Puppy woke up and had seizures, and she passed away. And I remember having moments where I was like, man, this dog is it's annoying me, blah, blah, blah. And, there's just certain things with having a puppy. There's a lot that comes with it, right? And I was complaining about those things. But the day that I held her body in my hands, it made me realize if I could just have another moment with her, I wouldn't complain. Time is precious. And we live life like we just have time. Time is not promised. Lauren London said this, and it really resonates with me. She says, we better love the people God loans us because he's going to want them back one day. We've got to love people, and we've got to be intentional with the life that we live. We live in a society today that makes us think that we just got endless ample time, we don't. The second thing I want to leave you guys with that I think is something that God has really given me. And I've said this verse even on this thing, so y'all I foreshadowed. But it says, God is doing a new thing. He says, forget the former things, do not dwell in the past. See, I am doing a new thing. Do you not perceive it? I'm making a way in the wilderness. I'm making streams in the desert. What God has told me in this season is that in order for me to do a new thing, I have to forget the old. I have to let things go. And a lot of people, they refuse to let things go. Maybe out of it being uncomfortable. Oh, I don't like being uncomfortable. In order for us to grow, we have to get uncomfortable. It's just a part of life. It's just the way things are. And so for anybody that's watching, and you've been praying for a new season, you're praying for the breakthrough, you're praying for this, you're praying for that, but you refuse to let things go, the relationship, the job, whatever it is, and take a step of faith. God says faith without works is dead.
Come on.
So if he's asking you to leave the job, leave it. If he's asking you to leave the relationship, leave it. Let it go. A lot of us say that we have faith, but when God calls us to move in faith, we're hesitant. When God calls us to move in faith, we still like, I don't know, God, I'm not sure. No, move. Whatever God has for you is exceedingly abundantly above all that we could ever ask, think, or imagine. No eye has seen, no ear has heard, and no mind can even imagine all that God has planned for you. Everything that has happened is inferior. Everything that is going to happen in the future is superior. And I think a lot of people, they refuse to let things go because they don't actually believe it. I believe that God has greater. Do you? And that's with what you are willing to let go.
Amen. All things new.
All things new.
All
It's a new season.
New. My girl brought it.
It's a new season.
It's a new season.
Yes.
Walk in it. I can't wait to see what God does for you this year.
Oh,
For me too. But
I can't wait to see what's going to happen for you.
Yeah.
There's a reason why we've been connected.
For sure. And it's not going to stop here.
Right.
I know there was a reason the enemy fought us, y'all. Mean,
for sure.
Lord, even today, but we made it happen. And this episode is going to bless a lot of people. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Of course, you were fantastic. I can't wait to watch it with you. That concludes this episode of Faith and Fame. Thank you guys for watching and tuning in. Make sure you like and subscribe. It is more than just a podcast, it's a movement. Until next time, peace.
Amen.
Woo!